we are going to next talk by Dr. Indu Bumna, and this is similar from a question asked by Advocate Pawan Kumar from Jaunpur. He asked how to treat at home when no medicine, no vaccine, no oxygen, no hospital, and no patient cremation center. So, I invite Dr. Indu. Guidelines, and there is nothing available, how you can treat at home for doctors and patients both.
Great. So very rightly put, when nothing is available, what we can do. Okay, so what I want to say is 85% of the patients we can treat at home. First, we should begin with our basic knowledge about history taking. We should ask about the age of the patient properly. We should ask about the comorbidities. Generally, when the patient call for a teleconsultation or when the patient visit, they come with the COVID reports and then they come with the CT score values and they're like, what should we do? They are really panicked about the reports and everything, what treatment we should take. We have already started vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. So what to do now? Should we get admitted? They are very prompt in asking certain things. We should make them stop and ask about the history taking. Okay, we should be very careful about that because first and the foremost thing you should ask, when was the first symptom of the patient? So if the patient is saying they had a body pain, or they had a fever, you should always ask what was the first date of the symptom. That is most important to decide about the treatment. Like if it is favipiravir, it only works, it works like the studies are saying when you are giving it in the first 3 days in the viral replication phase, So the history taking is most important. The certain symptoms which you can be very, you should ask the patient. The patient will interrupt you on the phone call. They will say that, we had fever for 1 day, then we took a paracetamol, the fever went away. Then again for 2 days, the fever didn't come. So fever aa raha hai, ja raha hai, aur fir se aa raha hai. So you cut them, you can ask them, okay, for how many days you got the fever, So few basic symptoms you have to ask: fever, cough, breathlessness, abdominal symptoms like loose motion, vomiting. You can ask for, there is a dry cough. जैसे एक पेशेंट ने बोला था उनके मुंह में पंखा लगा हुआ है, ऐसे बोला था, so there is a dry cough, there is a dry mouth. Okay, there could be a rash on the body, it could be a red eye, it could be a severe body pain, or it could be weakness, severe weakness, So these are the complaints what we are seeing in the second wave of the COVID. So always ask the patient the first day of the symptom and note down the date of that. Even if you don't have the COVID reports, you can 100% tell whether the patient has a COVID or doesn't have COVID. So that is about the symptoms of the patient. Then you can ask about the comorbidities, whether the patient is hypertensive, is diabetic, whether do they have any, any other heart problems or thyroid or lung issues. Okay, that depends whether to hospitalize the patient. So age, if it is more than 60, the patient with comorbidities, with low oxygen, the patient needs hospitalization. So every point is very important. Then you can ask about the travel history to the patient. Okay, अभी 2 साल 1 साल हो गए हैं, बोर हो गए हैं, so घूमने चले गए, travel कर लिया, and then incidentally they turned out to be COVID. So that is again about the travel history. Second, you have to ask about the COVID contact history also. घर में या friends या office किसी को भी COVID हुआ है, that also denotes, along with some जो patient को severe body pain है, so that shows that the patient could be COVID positive. So he goes into the category of COVID suspect. So, depending on the symptoms, first thing, even if the saturation are normal, I personally, without the RT-PCR, I start favipiravir. All right, because when you give it in the first 3 days of the symptoms, first 3 days of the illness, it really works. I believe that. All right, then comes the investigation. Again, the RT-PCR, when you do on the first day, the report can come negative. If the technique is not correct, the report can come negative. If the viral load is less, the report can be negative. So it should be repeated on the 5th day of the symptom. If it comes negative, then repeat again. And you have to tell the patient that the reports can come negative. We need to repeat that. Again, why the PCR is important? We can treat without the PCR also, but why it is important? Because you will, from the war room, you will not get a bed until, at least in Maharashtra, you will not get the bed until and unless you have a COVID report. So a PCR definitely is important. Then you can ask the patient, about, you can write the biomarkers. What I write generally, I don't write the battery of tests. Nobody likes it, so you just write the basic CBC, CRP, D-dimer. All right, you can ask for OTPT and creatinine. That's all, nothing else. You can ask for the CT scan. CT scan should always be done on the 5th or the 6th day of the symptom when the inflammation arises. Patients kya kar rahe na, they are coming with the CT reports. They are coming with the CT scores. They don't even show us the film. There is no video. We don't know what's going on. Is it the early inflammation? Is it the early fibrosis? We actually have to look in the CT scan. What is it? Is it the ground glass opacity? Is it the organizing consolidation? Are there atelectatic bands? Is there any septal thickening? What fibrotic element has set in? Everything we need to kind of see into the CT reports and not just the CT scorings. Then comes, you can ask the patients to take the pulse, temperature, BP, and SpO2 two times a day. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So even a resting tachycardia also shows that the patient is not doing well. Okay, just a basic thing as pulse also shows us a lot of things. Then we have the SpO2. SpO2 of above 94, the patient doesn't need hospitalization at all. So a patient who is symptomatic with a high fever, but the SpO2 is normal and is panicking and asking you, do I need a hospitalization? No, you don't need it. Even if the patient is elderly, without comorbidities, doing well, SpO2 is normal, the patient doesn't need hospitalization. Very clear. So you should ask the patient to check the SpO2 at rest, and also ask the patient to check the SpO2 after 6-minute walk distance. So you tell the patient to put the pulse oximeter in the finger and walk for 6 minutes and check the saturations after 6 minutes. Now, if the patient is elderly, above 60 years, you can make them walk for 3 minutes also and tell them to kind of note down their saturations at the end of 3 minutes. Now, if the saturations drop below 94%, that means that the patient has got exertional dyspnea. Now, this shows that the patient has got pulmonary involvement. So even without the CT scan, you can find out that the patient has got a pneumonia in the lungs. All right. So your treatment also differs from that angle. If there is an exertional dyspnea, you know that the patient is progressing. You know that the inflammation is setting in. You know that the steroids will be required at this stage without doing the biomarkers, I'm saying. Your clinical history is very, very important, and it goes to our school level when we were learning everything. And just with the history taking, you all can do so much, So even without the CT scan, you can do so much. So that's about SpO2. Then you have the BP monitoring, systolic BP. If it is less than 100, that means that the patient is not doing so well. So you have to also take care of that. Now, if the patient is diabetic and you are putting the patient on steroids, you also have to tell the patient that take a diabetologist's opinion, because your sugars are going to go up when the patient is on anti-inflammatory. So every point is very, very important. Because if the sugars go up, any bacterial infection can set in, any fungal infection can set in. So you need to also add along an antibiotic cover should be given to kind of avoid the bacterial infection. So that's about the symptoms and the history taking. Okay, so if we go about the investigation, I already discussed about the RT-PCR. If I talk about the biomarkers, then I would say just a CBC, CRP, D-dimer. Don't ask for a battery of tests like an LDH or a ferritin or an IL-6. IL-6, as Dr. Afreen said, it's going to show a huge variation, all right, because it depends on the transport. It depends on how quickly it is, processed. It should not be done unnecessarily. And I don't do it at all, the IL-6 levels. Besides that, what you can ask the patient is OTPT and creatinine levels. That's all. Because most of the times I have seen that OTPT is borderline high. So it's better to kind of do that, because the patient, you would be putting them on favipiravir, or as per your state guidance, you might put the patient on doxy or ivermectin or whatever. All right. Then you can ask for the CT scan on the 5th or the 6th day. Don't ask for the CT scans too early. Now, coming to the treatment part, I would say that treatment, what you have to give is, again, you should know the classification. So Maharashtra Task Force classification has very beautifully classified it clinically in terms of mild, moderate, and severe disease. Okay, and then you have the staging, which is stage 1 and group A, B, C. Then you have group C, D, and E, which is moderate disease, and then you have the group E, which is the severe disease. Okay, so now you have group A, which is asymptomatic patients. Now, asymptomatic patients who are there, they only require vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. Nothing else. They don't need anything, and probably they don't even have a fever, so they don't need anything. Just the vitamins to kind of boost them with the immunity. Then you have the symptomatics. All right. So they could have a upper respiratory involvement or a abdominal involvement, like a fever. They can have loose motion, vomiting, loss of smell, loss of taste. So over there, you can add a favipiravir. All right. You can add a vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. You can add a PPI over there. You can add an early budesonide over there. There are a lot of studies which shows that an early budesonide inhaler helps to it helps in the early recovery of the patient. So you can add that early. You can add a Montelukast, levocetirizine early. So this is about the symptomatics, okay, without comorbidities. Then you have the stage C, the group C basically, which are symptomatics with comorbidities. Now, comorbidities will be like, you have to see the age, you have to see diabetes, hypertension, any lung issues, kidney issues, everything. So over there, you add again favipiravir with an antibiotic you can add, because if the patient is diabetic, you have to be more careful. So you can give any oral antibiotic as per your local setting, and along with the regular vitamins what we are adding, and an early budesonide really helps. So you should add that, because it is inhaled steroids. All right, so that's about then we have the moderate disease. Moderate disease means there is a pulmonary involvement, there is pneumonia. Okay, so there is a group D, which is without hypoxia. So there is a pulmonary involvement without hypoxia when the SpO2 is above 94. So if it is above 94, you again don't need a steroid involvement. So you have to check for the CRP and the D dimers. Now, moderate disease, there is a gray area, when the CRP, D dimers are normal, patient saturations are around 94, 95, slightly dropping, but not really as per the protocol below 93. So you don't need steroids when they are borderline. So again, one single CRP or one single D dimer, you should not strategize your treatment as per one report, So a CRP of 7 or 8 and the patient is doing very well, you don't have to add a steroids. Early steroids would actually do more harm to the patient, because, they can catch an infection or whatever later. So it's always good to kind of see the trend of the biomarkers, like a CRP or the D dimer. Or you can, in the CBC also, you can actually look for the lymphocytes. The lymphocytes will be dropping. You have to see the NLR ratio. If it is more than 3.5, that means that the patient is progressing to a severe disease. It tells us about the severity of the disease. You can look at the lymphocytes and the monocytes. The monocytes will be rising, the lymphocytes are going down. Again, it tells us about the progression of the disease. You also have to look for the platelets. So if the platelets are 70, 80,000, then you cannot add an oral anticoagulant. That patient might bleed. So you have to watch very carefully every parameter, whether it is a CBC, whether it is a CRP or a D dimer or an OTPT or a creatinine, everything. Now, PCT, again, it is a very good biomarker, to kind of add an antibiotic if you want to add, and when to stop the antibiotic. A PCT is a very good marker, because it does not rise in COVID. It only rises when there is a bacterial infection or if there is a fungal infection. So that's about the pulmonary involvement without hypoxia patients. Then we have the pulmonary involvement, group group D basically. So that is a pulmonary involvement with hypoxia. So here the patients where the saturations are below 94, they require remdesivir, they require steroids, and they need to be hospitalized. They need to have a supplemental oxygen. Again, because the bed is not available, the saturations really of 94, 95, 93, and the patients are doing well. You can actually manage at home if the beds are not available. So instead of IV methylprednisolone, you can give an oral steroid also, at this stage. So that's about the home management. And patients are really doing well. I've seen CRPs of 40, 50, 60, 70 treated at home, doing very, very well. D-dimers of 2, 3, responding very well to the newer oral anticoagulants. Yeah. So I would like to take more questions and make it a really interactive session rather than me just telling about it. Any questions would be welcome.
There is one group in which the CRP level is prolonged for a long time. How will you manage? Even after stopping all the patient is totally asymptomatic, but still CRP is high.
Correct. So, sir, CRP will rise with any kind of inflammation happening in the body, like not generally in COVID, but any other.
Post-COVID. But
Achha,
after 10 days, still patient is totally asymptomatic, nothing. But CRP is high.
But CRP is high, so you can taper the steroids and you can stop the steroids if the patient is doing well. One can repeat a CT scan after 6 to 8 weeks and not too early also. And that will decide whether we need to stop the steroids that way. Only CRPs, again, I'm saying we should not be dependent on CRP or any D-dimer alone. We have to see the clinical profile of the patient.
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Indu, for a wonderful discussion about guidelines.